This moment between Senator Mazie Hirono and FBI Director Kash Patel isn't about partisan sparring. It's about basic accountability. As Hirono asks for simple staffing numbers, Patel's resistance to giving clear answers becomes the story itself.
There have been significant personnel changes at the FBI since President Trump took office. I want to better understand the scope of the turnover and the changes occurring at the FBI. Since January 2025, how many FBI employees have retired, resigned, been fired, or otherwise separated from employment? I need a number.
We'll get you a number.
What is the number? You don't have it?
Not off the top of my head, and I want to get you the right number.
Would it surprise you to know that it's probably in the thousands, like 5,000?
I don't think that number's
Well,
accurate.
you don't know. Next question. How many special agents or analysts have left or been fired from the FBI since January 20th, 2025?
Say, we will get you the numbers, and anyone that retires is of their own volition, and anyone that is terminated at the FBI, as I've said before, is done so because they have failed to meet the standards and uphold their loyalty and oath to the Constitution.
Yeah, so you say. Next question. How many executive assistant directors, or special agents in charge have left or been fired from the FBI since January 20th, 2025?
Again, people leaving on their own accord or terminations were done by the standards set at the FBI that have been carried out
With this question, I'm getting
consistently.
to the leadership of the FBI, and you don't have that answer. Next question. Which field office, division, or directorate has lost the most personnel since January 2025? And do you have the answer to that question?
Yeah, actually, every single field office in the country, including Hawaii, has received a plus up of FBI agents because we're pushing them out to the field.
Okay, so you're telling me that no field office, division, or directorate has lost any personnel since January 20th, 2025. That's your answer?
In Hawaii, there's been a plus up. In every single state that I'm looking at, we have allocated a plus up for field offices across the country so that the FBI can continuing the historic achievements it's done in these last 7 months. When you're talking about firings, you're looking for a media hit and a fundraising clip, and I'm not going to give it to you.
It doesn't matter. I'm under what basis they left. I just want to know how many have left. And I think your testimony is nobody has left. Next question.
Nope,
Which
that's
field-
not my testimony. You asked it one time. I answered it one time. You didn't get the answer you wanted for your clips.
Next
So you keep
question.
asking it, and I told you I'd get you the numbers, but you can keep asking it.
Which field office, division, or directorate has gained the most personnel since January 2025? You noted that there have been plus ups. So which offices have received these plus ups?
The greatest allocation that I believe was given to California and then Florida.
Where were those offices?
California and Florida.
Thank you. Director Patel, you often refer to FBI agents as cops. All of us, Democrats and Republicans, support the police officers who keep our communities safe. But while our states, cities, counties, and towns all employ police officers to protect our communities, Congress has empowered and equipped the FBI to take on missions that local police cannot, especially taking on terrorists, hackers, and spies. I'd like to assess how well the FBI is able to handle its specialized missions under your leadership. The FBI is the nation's lead federal law enforcement agency for investigating and preventing acts of domestic and international terrorism. And yet the executive assistant directors in charge of the FBI's national security and intelligence branches were both forced out at the beginning of the year. Who replaced them in those positions?
Excellent qualified personnel to lead the mission of arresting 23,000 violent criminals this year alone. That's twice as many as before.
Who took the places of
I'm not going to give you any names so you can attack them.
Why not?
So you can attack them. I'm not doing that. The
You're not
people
gonna
sitting
give
in
me the
those
names
seats are
of-
extremely qualified to handle the job.
You're
We would
gonna
not
give
have
me
the
names
results.
of
We would,
personnel who
we would
should
not have
be
the
on your
reduction
website.
of
Fine,
violence in the
moving
state
on.
of Hawaii if we did not allocate the
Earlier
resources we
this
did.
year,
This exchange between Senator Mazie Hirono and FBI Director Kash Patel exposes a fundamental tension between congressional oversight and executive defensiveness, and it's telling not for what Patel says, but for what he repeatedly refuses to provide. Senator Hirono's questions are basic by design. How many people have left the FBI? At what levels? And from where? These are not gotcha questions or ideological traps. They are the minimum facts Congress needs to evaluate whether a federal agency is stable, functional, and capable of carrying out its mission. Patel's inability, or unwillingness, to provide even rough figures immediately undercuts his insistence that everything is running smoothly. What stands out most is the pattern of deflection. Rather than acknowledging uncertainty and committing transparently to follow-up, Kash Patel pivots to rhetoric about plus-ups, historic achievements, and accusations that Senator Hirono chasing a media hit. That shift matters. Oversight hearings exist precisely to replace spin with data. When the head of the FBI frames numerical accountability as a political stunt, it signals discomfort with scrutiny itself. Hirono isn't arguing about why people left. She explicitly says it doesn't matter whether departures were voluntary or forced. The question is scale. Thousands leaving versus hundreds is not a semantic difference. It's an operational one. Patel's claim that every field office has received a net increase in agents strains credibility when paired with his admission that he cannot provide attrition numbers. You cannot meaningfully assert net gains without knowing gross losses. The insistence on plus-ups sounds reassuring, but without baseline data, it's impossible to know whether these reallocations are strengthening the FBI or simply masking churn caused by resignations, retirements, and leadership exits. The refusal to identify which offices gained the most personnel until pressed, and then answering only California and Florida, reinforces the sense of selective transparency. The exchange becomes more consequential when Senator Mazie Hirono turns to national security. Congress has charged the FBI with missions that local police cannot perform: counterterrorism, counterintelligence, and cyber defense. Hirono highlights that senior leaders overseeing these exact functions were forced out early in the administration. Director Patel's response is to tout arrest numbers for violent crime and to repeatedly refer to FBI agents as cops. That rhetorical move blurs an important distinction. The FBI is not merely a federal police force. It is an intelligence-driven institution with unique authorities and responsibilities. Prioritizing street crime metrics while sidestepping questions about intelligence leadership risks signaling a shift away from those specialized missions. Perhaps most revealing is Patel's refusal to name replacements for senior national security roles, claiming concern that Senator Hirono would attack them. That justification undermines his own argument. If these leaders are as qualified as he claims, transparency should reinforce their legitimacy, not endanger it. Withholding names from Congress erodes confidence that decisions are being made on merit rather than loyalty or politics. Ultimately, this exchange between Senator Mazie Hirono and FBI Director Kash Patel is less about numbers than about accountability. Hirono is testing whether the Bureau's leadership can meet oversight with facts instead of slogans. Patel responds with defensiveness, accusations, and selective answers. For viewers, the takeaway is straightforward and troubling. When the nation's top law enforcement agency undergoes sweeping personnel changes, Congress has both the right and the responsibility to know the scope of those changes. Refusing to answer doesn't make the questions political. It makes them impossible to ignore.